A lonely wind howls across the burning sands of Tikrit, Iraq. The sun sets red, not with beauty, but with a warning. In this barren village, far from the luxury of Baghdad, a child is born in 1937, a boy who will one day terrify the world. His name, Saddam Hussein. This is not just the story of a dictator. It's the story of how one man, born into poverty and pain, learned to rule through fear, and how his dream of power consumed a nation and himself. A journey from a broken childhood to a golden palace, from a village boy to a ruthless king of iron and blood. Saddam's father vanished before he was born. His mother, overwhelmed by loss, rejected him. He was raised by his uncle, a man obsessed with Arab nationalism and filled with hatred for outsiders. The young Saddam grew up surrounded by violence, humiliation, and hunger. In Tikrit's dusty streets, children mocked him for having no father. That humiliation burned deep inside him. Every insult became fuel for revenge. Every act of cruelty he faced became a lesson. That power means survival. By his teenage years, Saddam had only one dream: to never be weak again. He wanted to rise, to dominate, to make the world remember his name. Baghdad, in the 1950s, the air was thick with revolution. Iraq was ruled by a monarchy tied to the British, and anger filled the streets. Young men whispered of rebellion, of Arab unity and freedom. Saddam joined the Ba'ath Party, a radical group that preached strength, nationalism, and revenge against the West. He quickly learned the language of power, violence, secrecy, and fear. At just 22, Saddam took part in an assassination attempt on Iraq's prime minister. Bullets flew. The mission failed. But Saddam escaped, wounded, and disappeared into exile in Egypt. It was there, watching Egypt's President Nasser rise to fame, that Saddam began to see himself as a future leader. He studied propaganda, control, and charisma. He realized that revolutions are not won by guns alone, but by controlling minds. In 1963, Iraq's monarchy fell. The Ba'ath Party took control for the first time. Saddam returned home, sharper, colder, and more determined than ever. But soon, internal conflicts tore the party apart. Saddam was jailed. Inside prison, he transformed. He built alliances, manipulated guards, and planned his comeback. He spoke of Iraq's greatness, of destiny, of being chosen by history. Even behind bars, he began to act like a ruler. And in 1968, when the Ba'athists seized power again, Saddam escaped and helped orchestrate the coup. This time, he would not just serve power, he would become power. While President Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr sat on the throne, Saddam quietly built an empire beneath him. He took control of the army, the intelligence agencies, and the economy. He created a network of spies, one that could make anyone disappear overnight. He offered gifts to friends, jobs to families, and money to the poor. But behind the smiles, he watched, listened, and waited. He knew loyalty bought by kindness never lasts. Loyalty through fear does. By 1979, Saddam no longer needed al-Bakr. The old president was forced to resign, and Saddam Hussein became the new leader of Iraq. His first speech as president was broadcast live. Dozens of top officials sat trembling as Saddam called out names, one by one, accusing them of betrayal. Each man was dragged away in horror, executed as others watched. The message was clear: Saddam Hussein was now Iraq itself. Baghdad glimmered under his rule. Oil money flowed, skyscrapers rose, statues of Saddam stood on every street. Schools taught children songs about him, our father, our leader. Iraq's economy grew, but so did the silence. No one dared speak his name without praise. People disappeared for jokes, whispers, or even dreams. Saddam became both a god and a ghost, everywhere and nowhere at once. He rewarded loyalty with gold and punished doubt with death. He lived in grand palaces, surrounded by marble, mirrors, and fear. And for a time, he believed he was untouchable. But Saddam wanted more. He dreamed of making Iraq the heart of the Arab world. In 1980, he invaded Iran, thinking it would be an easy victory. Instead, he unleashed one of the longest, bloodiest wars of the 20th century. 8 years of trenches, chemical weapons, and 1 million lives lost. Cities turned to ashes, families shattered, and yet Saddam stood on his balcony and called it a victory. When the war ended in 1988, Iraq was broke, bleeding, and desperate. But Saddam saw only one path forward: conquest. In 1990, Saddam accused Kuwait of stealing Iraqi oil. Within days, his tanks rolled into the small nation. The world reacted with shock and fury. The United States led a massive coalition to drive him out. Operation Desert Storm struck Iraq with overwhelming power. Baghdad's skies burned with American missiles. Saddam's army crumbled, but Saddam himself survived. On state TV, he appeared calm, confident, untouchable. He declared it a victory against imperialism, even as his cities lay in ruins. He had lost the war, but in his mind, he had won the story. The 1990s were years of darkness. Sanctions strangled Iraq. Children starved, hospitals collapsed, and yet Saddam lived in palaces filled with gold and wine. He ruled through illusion. He filmed himself feeding children, kissing the elderly, and praying in mosques. But the world saw through it. Inside Iraq, people whispered in fear, hoping for freedom, but too terrified to act. Every portrait, every statue, every speech carried one message: Saddam is Iraq. Iraq is Saddam. Then came 2003. The United States accused Saddam of possessing weapons of mass destruction. The world watched as American tanks crossed into Iraq once again. In just weeks, Baghdad fell. Saddam's empire of fear collapsed overnight. His statues were torn down, his palaces looted. The man who once held millions in terror vanished. For months, he hid like a ghost among the ruins he created. Until one winter night, American soldiers found him in a small underground hole near Tikrit. Dirty, tired, and broken, the Lion of Baghdad had become a shadow of his former self. Saddam was tried for crimes against humanity. He stood in court, defiant, unrepentant. To the very end, he saw himself not as a criminal, but as a hero. On December 30th, 2006, Saddam Hussein was hanged. The footage spread across the world. The man who once ruled with iron, now lifeless, silent, and gone. The country he left behind was torn apart, unstable, and scarred forever. His dream of glory had turned into Iraq's nightmare. In the deserts of Iraq, the wind still whispers his name. Some remember him as a protector, others as a monster. But all agree, he changed history with fear, fire, and ambition. Saddam Hussein's story is not just about one man. It's about how power, when fed by pain and pride, can destroy everything around it. He rose from nothing, ruled everything, and died with nothing. His life remains a chilling reminder that even the strongest rulers eventually fall to the weight of their own power. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the figures who shaped our world. See you next time.